You've been told that networking is about collecting contacts, about showing up to events, about being friendly and memorable. You believe it. You've invested hours in conversations that led nowhere. Coffee meetings that produced nothing. LinkedIn connections that never responded. And yet the people you want to reach remain unreachable. The opportunities you want to access stay closed, because what you've been taught isn't networking. It's social performance. The Medici understood something different. They understood that real connection isn't about being known. It's about being needed. In 1397, when Giovanni di Medici had no family legacy and no inherited network, he built relationships that would control European politics for 300 years. Not through charm, through calculated architecture. The networks you've been building are social. The networks that create power are structural. There's a difference most people never see. Social networks are about who likes you. Structural networks are about who needs you. Giovanni di Medici didn't become banker to the Pope because he was charming. He became essential because he controlled something the Pope needed: money flow across Europe. The relationship wasn't personal, it was architectural. When you understand this distinction, everything about connection changes. You stop trying to be impressive. You start building dependency. The Medici documented this in their private correspondence from 1402 onward. Every relationship had a defined function. Every connection served a strategic purpose. Nothing was random. Nothing was wasted. This is what separates people who know a lot of people from people who control access to power. Most people approach powerful individuals hoping to take something. A job, an introduction, an opportunity. They position themselves as recipients. The Medici positioned themselves as infrastructure. When Cosimo de' Medici was exiled from Florence in 1433, the city's economy nearly collapsed within months. Not because people liked him, because the financial system ran through him. Banks across Europe processed transactions through Medici intermediaries. Trade routes depended on Medici credit. Political alliances were financed by Medici loans. Removing him wasn't like losing a citizen. It was like removing a load-bearing wall. Within a year, Florence begged him to return. That's not networking. That's architectural necessity. This is the shift you need to understand before any of the 13 laws make sense. You're not building a contact list. You're building dependency infrastructure. Law 1. Never approach power empty-handed. Giovanni di Medici's first interaction with the papal court wasn't a request for patronage. It was an offer to solve their most pressing financial problem: moving money across hostile territories without physical transport. He arrived with a working solution to a problem they hadn't publicly acknowledged. This is the entry point most people miss. They introduce themselves with what they want. The Medici introduced themselves with what they brought. Documented in the Medici archive from 1397. Giovanni's initial proposal included detailed logistics, estimated costs, and proof of concept from smaller transactions. He wasn't asking for a chance. He was offering capability. Before your first contact with someone powerful, ask yourself, what problem do they have that I can solve? Not what opportunity can they give me? What burden can I remove from them? Law 2. Build the bridge before you need to cross it. In 1402, Cosimo de' Medici was 8 years old. His father Giovanni was already establishing relationships with families whose children would become influential 30 years later. Documented correspondence shows Giovanni sending gifts to the Strozzi family, funding education for promising sons of minor nobles, sponsoring artistic projects for families with political ambitions. None of this produced immediate return. All of it created obligation infrastructure that paid off decades later when those children became ambassadors, bishops, and guild leaders. Most people network when they need something. By then, it's transparent. The Medici built relationships during abundance so they could leverage them during scarcity. Start building connections today with people who won't matter for 5 years. That timeline separates strategic networks from desperate ones. Law 3. Make yourself the intersection, not the destination. Lorenzo de' Medici didn't host gatherings so people would visit him. He hosted them so people would meet each other through him. His palazzo became the place where artists met patrons, where diplomats met merchants, where philosophers met politicians. Every connection made in his space created dual obligation. Both parties owed the introduction to Lorenzo. This is documented in dozens of letters from 1469 onward, where people thanked Lorenzo not for his personal favor, but for connecting them to someone else who changed their trajectory. When you become the intersection point of valuable relationships, you become irreplaceable infrastructure. You're not asking people to value you directly. You're making them dependent on the network that flows through you. Who are the 2 most valuable people in your network who don't know each other? Yet, introduce them. Become the bridge. Law 4. Information before introduction. The Medici maintained a spy network across Europe that would make modern intelligence agencies envious. Before meeting anyone significant, they knew family history, financial situation, current disputes, personal ambitions, and hidden weaknesses. This wasn't paranoia, it was preparation. A letter from Cosimo in 1435 describes researching a potential ally for 6 months before their first conversation. By the time they met, Cosimo knew which topics to avoid, which ambitions to acknowledge, and which problems to offer solving. The meeting felt natural to the other person. It was completely architected. Today you have more research capability than Cosimo ever had. LinkedIn, company filings, published interviews, social media history. Yet most people walk into important conversations knowing nothing. Information asymmetry is the foundation of strategic connection. Know more about them than they know about you. Always. Law 5. Create asymmetric obligation. When Giovanni di Bicci lent money to struggling nobles, he charged lower interest rates than competitors but required non-financial favors. Introductions, political support, information access. The monetary cost was smaller. The strategic value was immense. This is documented in Medici banking records, showing numerous loans at below-market rates with attached non-financial conditions. The borrowers felt they were getting a deal. Giovanni was acquiring political infrastructure that couldn't be purchased at any interest rate. The law is simple. Give something with low cost to you, but high value to them. Request something with high value to you, but low cost to them. This creates obligation that feels voluntary on their side while being strategically valuable on yours. Most people negotiate for equal exchange. Strategic networks are built on asymmetric exchange where both parties believe they got the better deal. Pause for a second. Think about the last time you asked someone powerful for something. One word. What did you offer first? If the answer is nothing, you understand why the conversation went nowhere. The Medici never approached anyone empty-handed. Never. Not once in 300 years of documented correspondence is there a request without an attached offer. This isn't about manipulation. It's about understanding how valuable people think. They're approached constantly by people who want to extract value. When someone arrives offering to add value first, the contrast is so stark they pay attention. Write down the name of one person you want to connect with. Now write down one specific problem they have that you could solve. Not impress them with, solve. If you can't identify the problem, you're not ready to make contact. Do more research. Law 6. Proximity before visibility. Cosimo de' Medici spent years working in the back offices of Florentine politics before anyone knew his name. He attended every council meeting but rarely spoke. He volunteered for administrative committees that powerful people considered beneath them. He was present in the room for hundreds of decisions before he made his first public move. By the time he emerged as a political force, he had observed every major player's decision-making process, negotiation style, and hidden allegiances. This is documented in council records from 1415 to 1429, where Cosimo appears on attendance lists but not speaking records. When he finally acted, it looked like sudden emergence. It was 14 years of strategic observation. Most people try to be visible before they're proximate. They want the spotlight before they understand the stage. Get close before you get seen. Access beats visibility every time. Law 7. Serve the network, not just the node. When Piero de' Medici helped a minor merchant secure a contract with a major guild, he wasn't just building a relationship with that merchant. He was building relationships with everyone that merchant was connected to. That merchant told his story, his guild, his family, his business partners. One favor created 12 obligations. This multiplication effect is documented in Medici correspondence, where single acts of support are referenced by multiple people who weren't even directly involved. The Medici understood network physics. Help flows through networks and creates obligation at every node it touches. Most people focus on the individual they're helping. Strategic networkers focus on that person's network. Before you help someone, map who they're connected to. That map determines the real value of the favor. You're not helping one person, you're entering a network. Law 8. Document everything. The Medici archive contains over 150,000 letters spanning 3 centuries. Every favor granted, every obligation created, every promise made, every introduction facilitated. They didn't rely on people remembering. They created paper trails that made forgetting impossible. When Cosimo called in a favor from a family he'd helped 20 years earlier, he could produce the original correspondence documenting his support. This wasn't about holding things over people. It was about having proof when memories faded. Most people have no record of the value they've provided. They help someone, then hope that person remembers when they need something. The Medici documented. They could prove exactly what they'd done and when. Start keeping a relationship ledger today. Not to weaponize it, to remember it accurately when the time comes. Memory is unreliable. Documentation is forever. Law 9. Never be the most powerful person in the room. Lorenzo de' Medici controlled Florence, yet he deliberately surrounded himself with people who challenged him intellectually. Philosophers who disagreed with his politics. Artists who critiqued his taste. Diplomats who questioned his strategies. This is documented in accounts from Lorenzo's gatherings, where he's described as listening more than speaking, asking questions more than giving answers. He understood that being the most powerful person in the room creates an echo chamber. Nobody tells you the truth. Nobody challenges your assumptions. You make decisions with incomplete information because people are managing you instead of informing you. This is how powerful people become isolated and eventually make catastrophic errors. The most strategic move is to maintain relationships with people who have nothing to fear from telling you you're wrong. Find people who don't need you. Keep them close. They're the only ones who will tell you the truth. Law 10. The favor is in the asking, not just the giving. When someone asks you for help, they're giving you something valuable. Information about their need, their vulnerability, their priorities. Most people see requests as burdens. The Medici saw them as intelligence. A 1441 letter from Cosimo discusses a request he received from a rival family. Instead of refusing, he granted a smaller version of what they asked for. The request itself told him they were financially stressed, politically isolated, and getting desperate. He helped just enough to create obligation without solving their underlying problem. The next year, when they were more desperate, he structured a much larger favor with much higher strategic value in return. The initial request gave him the intelligence to architect the optimal exchange. When someone asks you for something, pay attention. What does the ask reveal? That intelligence is often worth more than whatever they're requesting. Law 11, obligation expires. Use it or lose it. The Medici tracked not just who owed them favors, but when those obligations were fresh enough to call in. A favor granted last month has different power than one granted 5 years ago. This is documented in Medici banking records, where they systematically called in political favors within 18 months of granting financial ones. After that, memory faded, circumstances changed, and people rationalized why they didn't really owe anything. The strategic window was narrow. Most people grant favors and wait indefinitely to call them in, then wonder why the other person acts like it never happened. Time destroys obligation. If you're going to need something from someone, help them within calling distance of when you'll need to collect. The half-life of gratitude is shorter than you think. Strategic timing isn't just about when you act. It's about how long you wait between giving and asking. I learned this one the hard way. Early in my career, I helped someone get a major opportunity, significant favor, real impact on their trajectory. I felt good about it. Didn't ask for anything. Didn't document it carefully. Didn't stay in regular contact. 3 years later, I needed help from the same person. They'd forgotten the favor completely. When I reminded them, they became defensive, started minimizing what I'd done, suggesting they would have gotten the opportunity anyway. The obligation had expired, and I'd let it happen. That's when I understood what the Medici knew. Favors have a shelf life. Help someone today stay visible and collect within a strategic window, or accept that the favor never happened. I now treat every favor like the Medici did, documented, timed, and collected while still fresh. It's not cynical. It's realistic about how human memory works. Law 12, control the context, not just the connection. The Medici didn't just build relationships. They built the spaces where relationships formed. They funded the creation of plazas, libraries, churches, academies. These became the places where Florentine elites naturally gathered. Every conversation that happened there, every alliance formed, every deal made, all occurred in Medici-controlled context. This is documented in architectural records from 1444 onward, showing deliberate investment in public spaces designed to facilitate specific types of interactions. Lorenzo expanded this by hosting regular philosophical salons that became the intellectual center of Florence. The relationships formed there felt organic to participants. They were completely architected. Today, most people try to insert themselves into existing contexts controlled by others. Strategic networkers create the contexts where valuable people naturally congregate. Start a dinner series, launch a group, create a space, then watch who shows up and what they build together. Context is infrastructure. Law 13, strategic distance. The Medici never became dependent on any single relationship. When they granted favors to one family, they simultaneously cultivated competing families. When they allied with one political faction, they maintained secret communication with opposition leaders. This is documented throughout their correspondence. Parallel relationships with rivals, maintained with equal care. They understood that dependency is mutual. If you need someone too much, they control you. If someone needs you too much, you limit your options. Strategic relationships require calibrated distance. Close enough to be valuable, far enough to remain independent. Most people either become too distant and irrelevant, or too close and captured. The Medici stayed in the narrow band between the two. Maintain relationships across competing networks. Never let yourself need any single person or group so much that you can't walk away. Your independence is your negotiating power. Protect it above everything else. These 13 laws aren't theory. They're documented behavior from the most successful political network in European history. The Medici controlled Florence for 300 years, not through inherited nobility or military force. Through strategic relationship architecture, every connection was deliberate. Every favor was calculated. Every obligation was tracked and timed. They understood something most people never learn. Power doesn't come from who you know. It comes from who needs you, who owes you, and how well you've designed the network that flows through you. The difference between people with impressive contact lists and people with real influence is this. One collected names, the other built infrastructure. The Medici built infrastructure. They didn't network. They architected dependency. That's why their power lasted centuries, while others with bigger armies and older bloodlines disappeared. This is what separates connection from control. You're at a choice point right now. You can continue approaching networking the way you have been, collecting contacts, hoping for luck, waiting for powerful people to notice you. Or you can start building the way the Medici built. The difference is stark. Most people's networks are accidental accumulation. They meet people randomly. They help people reactively. They hope relationships somehow become valuable. The Medici network was deliberate architecture. Every relationship served a function. Every favor created strategic obligation. Every connection was documented and timed. This isn't about being manipulative. It's about being strategic. The Medici didn't trick anyone. They just understood relationship physics better than everyone else. They knew that networks have structure, that obligations have half-lives, that dependency is designed, not discovered. You now know 13 laws that took them generations to develop. The question isn't whether these laws work. 300 years of European dominance proved they work. The question is whether you'll actually apply them. Here's what most people get wrong about strategic networking. They think it's about being fake, about pretending to care when you don't, about using people. That's not what the Medici did. They genuinely helped people. They solved real problems. They created actual value. The strategy wasn't in being dishonest. It was in being systematic. They helped people who could help them back. They documented so they could remember accurately. They timed their asks strategically. They built contexts that served multiple purposes. None of this required deception. It required clarity. The Medici were honest about something most people lie to themselves about. Relationships have physics. Help flows in patterns. Obligation degrades over time. Proximity creates influence. These aren't manipulations. They're facts. The choice isn't between being genuine and being strategic. It's between being strategic or being naive. You can care about people and still document your interactions. You can genuinely want to help and still choose who to help strategically. Let's address the objection you're probably having. This feels calculated. It is. The Medici calculated everything. And that's why they succeeded where others who relied on charm, luck, or inheritance failed. The question isn't whether to be calculated. It's whether to be good at calculating. Right now you're calculating too. You're just doing it poorly. You're guessing who to help, hoping people remember, assuming relationships will somehow work out. That's calculation without skill. What the Medici documented over 3 centuries is simply better math. They understood that helping someone who can't help you back might feel generous, but it's strategically worthless. That timing a favor poorly wastes its value. That failing to document means you'll forget or misremember. This isn't manipulation. It's competence. Would you invest money without tracking returns? Would you build a business without measuring results? Then why would you build relationships, your most valuable asset, without strategy, documentation, or measurement? The Medici didn't. Now let's talk about the practical barrier. Most people don't have the Medici's resources. They weren't just strategic, they were rich. Fair point. But Giovanni di Bicci started with nothing. No inheritance, no family connections, no capital. What he had was systematic thinking about relationships. He documented every interaction when he couldn't afford to hire scribes. He granted favors that cost him time rather than money when he had no money to give. He built proximity by volunteering for low-status positions that put him in rooms with powerful people. The 13 laws don't require wealth. They require discipline. Documenting costs nothing but time. Timing favors strategically is free. Building contexts can start with a dinner series in your home. Maintaining strategic distance is a mindset, not a budget item. Creating asymmetric obligations is about creativity, not capital. The Medici became wealthy by applying these laws before they had wealth. You're not lacking resources, you're lacking system. That's actually better. Systems can be built. Resources require luck. The Medici understood something about power that most people miss. It's not about being the strongest. It's about being necessary. Cosimo de' Medici was physically unremarkable. He wasn't a great speaker. He wasn't particularly charming. But when Florence tried to function without him, the system failed. That's structural power. That's what these 13 laws build. When you become the person who connects others, who remembers obligations, who controls contexts, who maintains relationships across competing networks, you become infrastructure. People might not like you. They might even resent you, but they can't succeed without you. That's the difference between being impressive and being essential. Impressive is about you. Essential is about the system's dependency on you. The Medici didn't try to be the most impressive people in Florence. They tried to be the most essential, and essential is what lasts. 300 years of documented proof. This is the real game. This is how power actually works. Right now, think about your current network. How many of your relationships are documented? How many favors have you granted without tracking when or what? How many connections exist because you designed them versus stumbled into them? How many powerful people need you for something specific versus generally like you? Most people's honest answer: none, 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 none. That's not a moral failing. It's a strategic one. You're building relationships the way everyone builds them. Randomly, emotionally, hopefully. The Medici built relationships the way you'd build a business, with strategy, measurement, and intentional design. Starting today, you can change this. Document the next favor you grant. Track who owes you what and when. Identify one person you want to connect with and research them thoroughly before making contact. Create one asymmetric exchange where you give something low cost to you but high value to them. These aren't huge changes. They're systematic ones, and systematic beats impressive every single time. The hardest part isn't learning these laws. It's accepting what they reveal about relationships. Most people want to believe that good relationships happen naturally. That if you're just genuine and kind, valuable connections will form organically. The Medici proved it's false. Good relationships require architecture. Valuable connections require strategy. Lasting networks require documentation and maintenance. This doesn't make relationships less real. It makes them more durable. The Medici had genuine friendships that lasted generations. But those friendships existed within a framework of mutual dependency, documented obligation, and strategic value. That framework didn't corrupt the friendships. It sustained them. Because both parties knew exactly what they'd done for each other, what they owed, and why the relationship mattered. Ambiguity destroys relationships. Clarity sustains them. Strategic doesn't mean fake. It means clear. And clear relationships last longer than vague ones. The Medici documented 300 years of proof. Let's talk about scale. You're not trying to control Florence. You're trying to advance your career, grow your business, or access opportunities that are currently closed. Different scale, same physics. A job interview is a negotiation about mutual dependency. What do they need? What can you solve? How do you become essential rather than impressive? A business partnership is a network architecture problem. Who connects to whom? What obligations exist? What happens if one person leaves? A career advancement is a proximity question. Who makes the decisions? How do you get in their regular field of view? How do you become someone they consult before acting? These aren't different problems. They're the same laws at different scales. The Medici controlled European politics using the exact principles you need to navigate your industry. The scale changes. The physics doesn't. Document your relationships. Time your asks. Create asymmetric obligations. Build contexts. Maintain strategic distance. These laws work at every level. From managing a team of 3 to managing a continent of millions. Here's the mistake that will kill your network before it starts. Trying to implement all 13 laws simultaneously. The Medici developed these over generations. Giovanni focused on documentation and information gathering. Cosimo added proximity and timing. Lorenzo perfected context control and strategic distance. Each generation built on the last. You need to do the same. Start with one law. Pick the one that feels most actionable for your current situation. If you're early in your career, start with proximity before visibility. Get in the room before you try to speak. If you're established but stagnant, start with creating contexts. Build the spaces where valuable interactions happen. If you're well connected but lack leverage, start with asymmetric obligations. Structure your favors for strategic return. Master one law until it's automatic, then add another. A network built on one principle applied consistently beats a network trying to apply 13 principles poorly. This is a lifetime project, not a weekend workshop. Start small, start systematic, start today. The Medici had enemies, lots of them, powerful families who resented their rise, political factions who opposed their control, rival banks who wanted to destroy them. Some succeeded temporarily. Cosimo was exiled. Lorenzo survived assassination attempts. But the Medici network survived every attack. Why? Because they weren't dependent on any single person or position. When Cosimo was exiled, other Medici continued operations. When Lorenzo faced political opposition, allies he'd cultivated in distant cities applied pressure. The network was distributed. The infrastructure was redundant. This is the final lesson. Your network needs to survive you. If you're the single point of failure, you don't have a network. You have a cult of personality. And cults of personality collapse when the personality leaves. Build your network so it would function without you. Create connections between others. Document so your successor could pick up where you left. Make yourself essential but not irreplaceable. That's the ultimate strategic network. The Medici network lasted beyond any individual Medici. You now know something that took the Medici 300 years and 3 generations to perfect. 13 laws of strategic connection documented through 150,000 letters and verified by European history. These aren't theories. They're engineered principles proven over centuries. The question is what you do with them. Most people will watch this, feel momentarily inspired, then continue networking exactly as they have been. They'll collect contacts randomly. They'll help people reactively. They'll hope for luck, and they'll wonder why powerful people remain out of reach. A few will actually apply these laws. They'll document their next favor. They'll research before their next important conversation. They'll time their next ask strategically. They'll start building contexts, and within months, they'll notice something changing. Not their personality, not their charm, their structural position. People will start coming to them. Opportunities will start flowing through them. They won't become more impressive. They'll become more essential. That's the difference. And it's entirely within your control. The Medici started with nothing and ended controlling the papacy, European banking, and Renaissance culture. Not through luck, not through inheritance, through systematic relationship architecture applied consistently across generations. You're not starting from nothing. You have resources, education, and technology Giovanni de Medici couldn't imagine. You have research tools that would have made Cosimo's spy network obsolete. You have communication speed that would have made Lorenzo's salon look impossibly slow. The only thing you lack is the system. These 13 laws are that system, extracted from 3 centuries of documentation, verified by historical outcomes, applied by the most successful political network in European history. You don't have to invent this. You just have to implement it. The physics of connection hasn't changed since 1397. Strategic networks still beat impressive individuals. Documented obligations still outlast vague goodwill. Asymmetric exchanges still create sustainable leverage. Essential still beats impressive. The laws work. The question is whether you'll work them. Think about the most powerful person in your industry. The one everyone wants access to. The one whose call gets returned immediately. The one who shapes outcomes. They're not playing by different rules. They're playing by the same rules the Medici documented. They might not know it consciously, but watch their behavior. They document interactions. They time their asks strategically. They create contexts where valuable people gather. They maintain relationships across competing networks. They make themselves essential rather than impressive. They're applying these laws whether they've studied them or not. The difference is you're now conscious of the pattern. You can see the architecture instead of just the outcomes. You can build systematically instead of stumbling toward it. This is like learning the physics are behind a skill you've been trying to develop through trial and error. The physics existed whether you knew about it or not, but knowing it lets you practice deliberately instead of randomly. The 13 laws are the physics of strategic connection. Now you know them. Now you can practice them deliberately. The Medici network wasn't built in a generation. It took Giovanni 20 years to establish the banking foundation. It took Cosimo another 30 to convert financial power into political infrastructure. It took Lorenzo a lifetime to perfect the cultural and intellectual dominance. 3 generations, 90 years of systematic building before the network was fully architected. You don't have 90 years. But you also don't need to build a 3-century dynasty. You need to advance your career, grow your business, access closed opportunities, different scale, shorter timeline, but the same patience is required. This isn't a hack. There's no shortcut to becoming essential. The good news: You're not competing against people who know these laws. You're competing against people who network randomly, help reactively, and hope for luck. You're competing against people who think charm and credentials are enough. Against that competition, systematic application of even one or two of these laws creates massive advantage. Start today, document for 6 months. Watch what changes, then add another law. In 2 years, your network will look nothing like it does today. One final lesson from the Medici. They never stopped learning. Even at the height of their power, they studied their rivals. They documented what worked and what failed. They refined their approach with each generation. Lorenzo commissioned reports on enemy networks to understand their structure. Cosimo maintained relationships with people who'd tried to destroy him, just to understand their thinking. The Medici archive contains as many documents, analyzing their failures as celebrating their successes. This is the mindset you need. These 13 laws aren't the end, they're the foundation. As you apply them, you'll discover variations that work better for your context. You'll find combinations that create unexpected leverage. You'll develop your own 14th and 15th laws. Document what you learn. Share it with people in your network. Build on what the Medici started. 300 years of strategic relationship documentation didn't end with them. It continues with everyone who understands that networks are architecture, not accident. You're now part of that lineage. Make it count. The Medici understood that real power is quiet. Giovanni never advertised his growing banking empire. Cosimo deliberately downplayed his political influence. Lorenzo cultivated a reputation as a patron of arts while controlling Florentine politics from behind the scenes. They understood that visible power creates resistance. Structural power creates dependency. When people see you as powerful, they either challenge you or submit to you. When they need you without realizing you're powerful, they simply accept your necessity. This is the final difference between impressive and essential. Impressive announces itself. Essential is discovered by its absence. The most powerful people in your industry probably aren't the most visible. They're the ones everyone seems to know. The ones whose names come up in every important conversation, even when they're not in the room. The ones who somehow seems involved in everything that matters without appearing to seek attention. That's structural position. That's what these 13 laws build. Not visibility, necessity. And necessity doesn't need to announce itself. It gets discovered when someone tries to do something important and realizes they can't do it without you. Most people will watch this and move on. A few will stay and change. Decide which one you are. The Medici documented exactly how they built the most powerful network in European history. You now have access to that documentation. 13 laws extracted from 150,000 letters and 3 centuries of verified outcomes. No theory, no philosophy. Just documented strategic behavior that controlled European politics, banking, and culture for 300 years. The question isn't whether these laws work. History proved they work. The question is whether you'll implement them, whether you'll document your next favor, whether you'll research before your next important conversation, whether you'll time your next ask strategically, whether you'll start building contexts, whether you'll create asymmetric obligations, whether you'll maintain strategic distance. Most won't. A few will. Those few will notice something changing within months. Their structural position, their access, their necessity. No fluff, no noise, just strategy. Subscribe if you're not one of the ones who stays average.